a subscription, and I don't want to extend that to you after I have costed a lot. Yeah,
That's true.
okay. As before we had discussed, I'm not going to go through them. I'll share with you the documents for your continual reading. I'll share with you this document where we shall be aligning on the timelines and the calendar. Then attached there some of the copy of the support links, which you can always use for your continued research and reading. We are basically on this call just to get the basics and to have a real-time feedback in case you have any question. So that's what we planned last time, that we are going to start with Power BI. Ideally today, since it is an hour, we are going to just look at the introductory and look into the interface of how Power Query is. So I think more we can do it on Saturday. If we are to meet physical, then it would be better. Yeah. So I'll switch back. Now, I explained all this, Power Query, Power Pivot, and Power View, which we shall also use DAX. DAX is the data analytical expressions. You can call them formulas for now, but as we go on, you'll better understand why they are called expressions rather than formulas or functions. Yes, in this course, yes, I'll give you this. Document we are using for the presentation. We shall do interactive hands-on demos, and we shall try out some projects. I will show you sites where you can always get free data for your own practice. We have a lot of sites on the web that you can always go there, get free data for your practice. Those sites are always having, they always have challenges. You can try out a challenge and you compare with others who have tried a challenge, like where did I miss out? You know, when you look into what people have posted and you have done the same challenge, it gives you a feel that so at a certain stage, because you'll at sometimes laugh to some of the reports I've done, because they you know what they don't know at that state. So in data analytics, we always have principles. Actually, everything always has principles. Even in your home, you have principles you go by. Like you set principles, and these principles you have already acknowledged that they will always get out the best. So when we also dig deep into data analytics, we shall find that there are many principles that are there. And when you get those principles, it means that you can easily have an output that really gives the purpose of why you start to do the analytics. So the principles, they are all the way from the ideation. Since we are recording, sorry, since we are recording, you can mute such that you don't spoil your screen. You can always unmute when you want. I'm saying since we are recording the call, you can mute your side such that we don't have a lot of noise in the recording for it to be beneficial. You can unmute at any point when you feel like you need to stop me, ask a question, right? Yes. We shall have quizzes. I will always give you homework and exercises just to make sure that we test each other. Where we have reached and what is ahead of us. Now, the outlines of this course, we have the word power. The word power, that it splits into Power Query and Power Pivot. That is the workflow I told you. So it is more beneficial than the traditional Excel we know. So it is part of the Excel, but it is more beneficial when you have these two. From what you always do in Excel, it is an advanced way how you can uplift your productivity. Then Power Query, we shall find that we have a lot of types of data connections that we can connect to many sources of data. We can do query editing. There are a lot of query editing tools. You're going to look at them. I think I will flash my Excel and we'll look at that. Then we shall look at the many loading options we have. Yes, at some point in future, like 3-4 sessions we shall have had, we shall also engage on data modeling, which is more of normalization. I think I will take you through what normalization means. Table relationships, we shall look at hierarchies. Then we shall proceed to the data pivots. That is part of the data modeling. I will introduce you to some of the DAX, not all, but we shall at least have an introductory on the DAX, which we always have to relate in two categories, calculated columns and measures. So you'll get the difference why some are called calculated columns, others are measures. Then we shall look at the common DAX, that is the syntax, the math and stats functions, how we do filters, the time intelligence tools. Like last time I told you that when you reach to DAX, you can create a DAX that can directly calculate for you. Let's say month to date, year to date, morning to now, something like that. Such that every time you're running your data or you have your dashboard somewhere, your users can always easily compute that year to date we have performed with this metric. Month to date we have performed with this metric. Week on week, WOW. So all that is under time intelligence. So we shall find those tools, we shall see how we can use them. Then finally, after our 12 sessions we had projected with, I know they will extend at some point. We shall run through projects. Here I had noted out a certain project that I always give people to work out with, but there are many projects outside there. You can always pick any project and go with. Now, something to note that with Power Query, when we come to Excel to use Power Query, there are versions and compatibilities that we have to consider. First of all, the Excel we always have on Mac or on MacBooks. You'll not have Power Query and Power Pivot. Then when you go to Windows PC, Power Query starts with 2016 upwards. So 2016, 2019, 2020, 2021, then 365, which is a version that anyone who is data enthusiast can use, that it is always updated on monthly, on quarterly basis. Yeah, we have an office.com page, which I showed you last time, that you can always go and have a continued read. There are a lot of resources there, so you shouldn't always lack. You can go and read about Power Pivot, Power Query, and all the measures and all what we shall go through in this course. So Power Pivot works with 65-bit of Excel. So when you're downloading or you're installing Excel, always they give you two options, either 32-bit or 64-bit. So it always works better with 64-bit. I'm not going to go into the details of the difference between 32 and 64, but you can note it down and read the same on web. Then Power Pivot menus, features, and tools have evolved over time. So there are always changes. Every day people are seated somewhere. Sorry?
Chris, sorry.
Yes,
sorry, I lost you for a moment. When you're talking of 64 and 32
Power Pivot and Power Query will always work best when you're running your Excel that is installed 64-bit. You know, when you're installing most of the softwares or most of the applications on Windows, there is always that option that it gives you for some applications. Do you want to install 32 or 64 if you have ever installed one? Then even Excel or Office, I can say in general, MS Office. Also, when you're buying or when you're installing it, always make sure that you install 64-bit. And automatically 64-bit goes on a Windows that is 64. So 32, there is a way how it limits you to use some of the applications that need a wider resolution, a wider screen resolution, and a wider resource usage. What I was saying that I will not dig deep into this. You can read about the difference between 64 and 32, but the way how they are noted, 64-bit is the largest and compatible with many applications. So, now we shall use data that we shall use FoodMat. It is some data we shall get from one of the sites, but if we don't, then we can always have some other data we shall use. We can leave that for now. Then the expectation. So I'm going to use 365 for my case. So from 2016 going upwards, you should be able to access Power Query and Power Pivot. I've already said this. So this course is designed to get you up to speed on Excel BI. I call it Excel BI because it is the business intelligence. That is the Power Query, that is the Power Pivot, the DAX, the Power View. I'm bringing in Power View just to prepare you for the Power BI bit. But in Excel, you may not have the Power View, but you can always even create dashboards in Excel. Then these tools are powerful, as how you hear them power. So the name just speaks for itself. So when you get challenged, we can always pull back and pause. We make sure that we can always review these videos, and you should always feel free to tell me when I've run on the speed, or when we are having a next session, you can always ask me to repeat some of the things we did in the previous session. So that's it. Now, introduction of the Excel BI, that is the Excel Business Intelligence. I'll keep flipping to Excel such that we get a feel on how it is. Now, here they tell you that when you always have raw data can be in Excel, it can be on SharePoint, it can be on SQL servers. Last time we talked about it can be on the web. At some point we are going to reach and we subscribe data on the web, which I think maybe that's our next session. Then we shall load this into Power Query, and that loading, we call it the get and transform. I told you last time that ETL stands for extract, transform, and load. So when we are connecting our data from wherever we are getting it from, we start transforming it, and the final part we shall do will always be loading it when you have done all the data cleaning and all the alignments. So when you have loaded your data, in the many options I will show you, then you'll always go ahead to model it. In case I told you last time that when you have data sources from different sources, or even if it's from the same source, but these tables are different, you have data, let's say the product table, where that product table talks about the categories of the product, the specs of the product, the colors, and all that. Then you also have another table, the customer table. It talks about all the details of your customers, the address, their phone numbers, even their biodata, you have it, which you may not need in your analysis for sales, but you need that table, you need a profile for your customers. Then you'll have another table, let's say, for the prices you're running. Maybe if you have the prices of the competitors, that's a different table. Then you have a table for the daily sales. Now, how do you bring all these four tables we have talked about? After you have loaded all the 4 tables, it means at the end of the day, you have to create a data model. You have to create a relationship between these tables. So we shall find out that every time you sell, you capture the ID of the product, you capture the ID of the customer you have sold to, you capture the ID maybe of the price. And at the end of the day, you need to bring all these 3, 4, 5 tables to speak to each other, because that data is pulling from different sources. So that is the relationship we are talking about. So here it's where you'll go ahead and add the columns you don't have. You can imagine you're given price and quantity. You need to get the amount. And we all know that to get the amount is quantity times the price. So that is a calculated column. So you'll define the hierarchies. Which one is at the top? It means if I have a hierarchy of my products, that I have foods and non-foods. Then under foods, maybe I have vegetables, I have packaged foods. Then under non-foods, maybe I have healthy, I have home cleaning utensils. All those are the hierarchies I'm talking about. So you'll find that when you're doing analysis, you want to know what's the analysis between foods and non-foods. Then after that, if I drill down, what is the analysis for only foods by the different categories? The packed foods, the vegetables, the fruits and all that. So those are the hierarchies I'm talking about. Then after that, you bring all these together through a Power Pivot or a DAX. And DAX, that is the data analytic expressions. We shall have those expressions to make sure that they give you a feel of how you can simplify and present the data in the right way. So I think that gives you a preamble on the workflow, how this all goes through. So in this course, you don't need an additional software. The only software we're going to use is Excel. Maybe when we switch to Power BI, time in the future, then we shall need to install Power BI and we see how we can use it. Now, what are the best things that will happen as we go on? You know, in Excel, I'll start switching now to Excel. You see, just a moment. You know, in Excel, we can load up to 1 million. So when I go at the bottom, in Excel, we can always load up to 1 million. This is the highest you can always go for here. These are the number of rows that we have in Excel. Let me increase this to 30. So from today and onwards, know that in Excel, you can load data up to 1,048,576 rows. You can't exceed there. But we are going to see that in Power BI, in Power Query, we can go even up to 25 million of rows. So we shall test that out. You can go and read about it, but you can load up to, you can work with data that goes up to 25 million rows. But in Excel, the normal Excel without using Power Query, you can only load up to 1,048,000 rows, which means if you are having data that was exceeding this, you'll have to create another sheet, another workbook. And those workbooks can never be joined together because you have reached the limit for all. Or you can create the different sheets, but you can never have them on one sheet. So those are the challenges we get when you start dealing with big data. I know people who use Excel on the basic, they can never deal with data more than these rows. But if you're a data analyst, you'll find that you're dealing with data for a company, let's say for 6 years, and the company generates more than these transactions in a year. It means that you can never have an Excel to run those analysis and analytics. So you'll have to use Power Query. Then we shall have a way we can quickly build our models. I've already told you what models are, and we shall easily blend them for analysis we shall be doing for the different questions. I remember telling you analytics is more like answering questions, having solutions to a problem. The moment you don't have a solution, the moment you don't have a problem, then you don't need to do analytics. You don't need to have that data, spend time, because you'll be everywhere. You don't know what you're trying to communicate. We shall be able to create fully automated data shaping and loading. It means the next session we shall have on Saturday, we should be able to combine more than one sheets or workbooks, and we should be able to see that they automatically update when the data increases or when the data updates. This is in a way that you create a report for your team. You don't need to supervise or look at how they are loading that data, but at every point data is created in the back end, it will be auto-updating, either a dashboard or a report or a template that you'll have created. So we shall define calculated measures using the DAX. So here you see what I'm trying to show you, that when you're using Power Query, you can even go up to 25 millions. So you see here, this was Power Pivot. But when you look at this, it is near like how you see Excel. But here you see that this guy had data that was going to 24,476,655. This is too much. These are 24 sheets you were supposed to run if you are using the normal Excel. But someone is running it in one go, in one workbook. So those are the wonders we shall see with Power Query. Actually, it explains all what I was explaining here. This is it. Now, this is the way how our models look like. We always have two ways how we can show this, either in a data view or in a diagram view. Now, this is a diagram view. Those arrows you're seeing, those are relationships. And where the arrow is pointing, it means that's where the relationship is. We are going to look at those cardinalities. We call them cardinalities, like one-on-one, one-to-many, one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many. We shall look at that and what each represents and what it means. So when we are dealing with Power Query, we are going to see things like the Power Editor, the Query Editor, which you're looking at your screen. Then anything we do in Power Query will always be logging steps. So anything you do, you've changed something, it will log a step. So in Power Query Editor, we don't have undo. We don't have Control Z. So these are the steps, which means when you cancel a step, then you will have undone. But you can't redo because you have canceled the step, or you have deleted the step. So everything you do, it will keep recording steps. And these steps are the guide to what it shows, what you have been doing, how long you have taken, how many steps you have taken to get your data from when it was from the source up to where it will be. Then maybe I will go through the others when we start using the Query Editor. Now, we formally go now to Power Query, and here I will automatically switch to Power Query. Then I show you how we go by this. I will switch back to this in case we need to look at it. There goes up to around 2000. When I go back and open 2015, you see, it is the same format, because maybe you'll have a system where they download this data, or where every end of month you have to extract the data, put somewhere, analyze, which means it will become easy for you. Extract the data the way it is, save it in that folder, then go and start playing with your Power Query. So that's why I'm telling you that you don't need to combine those workbooks to make sure that you run an analysis. Leave them wherever they are, but make sure at least they're in the same folder for you to easily pick them. Okay. I know I don't want to rush to that. I know you want to see what's the output, but I told you last time, to me, the basics are more vital than me showing you how it is done than showing you the basics how it comes up. Now, the first thing, you told me you have 365 or you have an Excel. I know it is above 2016. So which means when you go to data, this is the section we are going to rely on for most of our time in this course. So when you go to data, this part where you have get and transform. So the get is you're extracting that data. That is the E. You remember me telling you that we have ETL where just a moment. We have ETL, where E stands for extract, T stands for transform, L stands for load. So when you come here, we have get, this is extract. When you're just picking your data from wherever you're getting it from, you're extracting. The moment you have extracted it, you're going to put it in a Power Query editor. You're going to look at the Power Query editor. You'll start transforming it. Then in the same Power Query editor, when you're done, then you should be able to load it. Now, I'm going back to the Power Query editor before I open it to the other end. Now, this is the way how a Power Query editor looks like. Now, a Power Query editor, this is the interface. First of all, at the top, we have the query editing tools. This is what you'll see at the top. We have 3-4 tabs, 3 major, but there is a tab for view. We have home, transform, and add columns. Then, the moment you open your Power Query editor, what you see here is always the data preview. It will always show you the data preview. And at the top of that data preview, there is always a DAX that has been created, which in Excel we call a formula bar. But when we come here, it is no longer a formula bar, but it is a bar. But here it carries something we call an M code. It is no longer a formula, but it is an M code. I told you Power Query we use a language called M language. So the code you see here is M code, and those are the codes we shall be using to write our DAX, our data expressions. Then the property here, it is always the name of the table. So you can always edit it here, then it becomes the name of your query. Then anything you do to this data, cleaning, filtering, doing this in that session of you having your data cleaned for the analysis, it always logs steps here. So those steps, I'll show you how we preview them, how we play with them. Even if someone had created a data query, you can always go to those steps, you see where they have gone wrong. If you get errors, you can always tell where the error is picking from, something like that. So let me see if there is these are the three tabs. We have the home tab, which has all the general settings and the common table transformation tools. We have the transform tab, which includes modifying existing rows. So here it's where you'll find group by, transpose, reverse rows. You have changing data types. You have replacing these things of control find in Excel. Here you'll be clicking on replace values. Then you put what you want to replace and what you want to replace it with. You can create pivot columns. You can unpivot. I will show you all what it does. Don't get scared with the new words. Then how you split columns. If you have Pius Tumsimi and they tell you we need 2 columns, one first name, another one last name, what do? You'll just come select that column, you come and click here, split column. It will ask you for a delimiter. Just in a click, in a blink of an eye, the 25 rows will have splitted with first name and last name. extracting something. If there is anything in a column you want to extract, you can extract it, create another column where it should be. We shall look at that. And other statistics functionalities. Then we shall add columns. That's true. You have price, you have quantity, you need amount. You'll always have a column that will be added that we call amount. So at this point, we shall always have DAX input here in case you need a DAX to generate a new column. Then you can play with the formats. You see some of the things here on add column, they are already on transform. So we shall look at that. So those are this is the query editor. These are the tools we have in the query editor. The moment you master this, there is nothing you can say that I can't do in Power Query. So our focus will be more on how do we use all these functionalities. These functionalities, if you go down to count them and what they do, it is amazing. They are even over 200. You see them very small in 3 tabs, but they are very many. Yeah, this is it. Now I will switch now to the other side. We do something, at least we should close the session with some practical bit of it. Now, starting with the first thing, I want to show you, first of all, how we get data. Now, I'm going to open here, I'm going to open a tab. Which team do you support in the Premier League?
Don't I look like a national guy?
Yes, you look. So, what is going on? But we know this is a game and this is soccer. Now, you see, this is a Premier League table. Eh? I didn't mean to bring the Premier League table, but just to have an insight, I think you remember.
But it could change on Sunday.
Yes. Now that's what I want to show you, that when I pick this table with this data and take it to Excel using Power Query, it means that every time this table changes, when I go to my Excel, it also automatically changes in case I'm online. So it means that if you ever use data online, like we know finance guys, he always wants to connect his data with a Forex Bureau table online. Like every time a dollar changes, his data changes with a dollar. Yes, they may want that, but I know companies always have a standard value for a dollar exchange. So there are 2 options. Someone will tell me, come, select this like this, up to where Sheffield is. Copy this, Control C. That's what I've done on my keyboard. I'm going to cancel this footmat for now. Today I'm not going to do anything on that. Then someone will say, okay, come to my table. I will delete this because I had come to my table, paste it here. You see how it has pasted? This one actually, it may have pasted well, but some of them you'll find they will paste like this. You see, you'll find that they will paste like this. I know you should have ever tried that, and you ask yourself, how can I pick this data from the web? Let's say you need that table, but you feel like this is going to be too much work for me to copy one by one, putting it in its row on row, putting the goal difference, goals scored, the points, all of that. It's going to be too much work. Okay, here is the magic now. When you come now to Excel, data Power Query, you will always use the get. Now, when you have get here, when you go to web, actually it is always here at the face. It is not even in the options. It is always here. Pick data from the web. So when I say pick data from the web, it's going to run. It will give me a dialog box for me to put the link, right?
Yeah.
So
Mm.
yeah, then I will now go to the other side of my web. Now the link I need is this. You get?
Okay.
The link I need is this. I will copy this link, go back to my Excel, paste the link here. Don't do advanced, don't do anything. Those ones will come later. So say okay. But remember here, you should be having internet because we are pulling data from the net, right? Now,
Okay.
this data for us to pick it, this portal you see here, we didn't require logins to log in into this portal, right? It is to the public. Yes, but if it is a company portal where you need to put in your password and that, even that password will be requested here. It means if you, like in Pepsi, you use your portals, look at what you have logged in using on your computer, you'll always go on Windows. Then when you say use my current credentials, it will automatically use the credentials. If this is the company portal, it will automatically connect. If it is a web API, the owner of the API has to give you a key. You get? Then if it is an organizational account, you'll have to log in using an organization account. If it is a database,
What's API?
API is API in full is application interface. Now, I don't want to go into details of the API, but for now, just know API is like, if I ask Pepsi,
like picking data from an app, eh?
Yes, like I have an app. Pepsi wants to use my app for their maybe vehicle management. My tech team and Pepsi's tech team will sit down and build an API that Pepsi will always pick data from that API. API is like a box, like a container, where the other party dumps for you to pick. Yes. Now, here we are going to use anonymous. Why? Because what we are accessing is public. So we shall leave it on anonymous and we say connect. You should be on web, you should be on internet for you to connect. It is going to run, it is picking data, it is establishing a connection, and it will bring the navigator. The navigator will have all what you need. Now, you see the navigator has splitted for me. I'm under table view. The navigator has splitted for me that there is an HTML table that is called Premier League table. There is another table, which means when I click on this table, it will preview for me what that table is. Then when I click on this table, so it will preview for me, and this is exactly the table I need. Then there is an HTML code here, which I don't need. If you did maybe programming, you can easily read that. The displayed text, you can go ahead. Then if I want to look at the web view, you can come here. Here it shows you the web view where this data is coming from. But at the moment, we meant to keep on the table view. So this is the table I need. So if you want more than one table, you can always select multiple, then you click them on one by one. But since I want one, I will just select it like this. Preview, yes, this is the table I need. Then after that, now there are two options here. There is load and there is transform. Now, we have done the E, we have extracted. Here they are giving us T and L. But remember, the T is before L. So I should always transform my data before I load it. But if you're sure that this is the format that you need your data, that it is always in, is already in, then I can go ahead and just load my data. But even on the load, they give you two options. They give you an option to load, it will automatically go in my spreadsheet, or to load to. Load to, it means that you may want to load it just as a connection. Then you start running your analytics. What are the top 5 teams? What are the top 5 teams with many losses? What, all those analytics, you run them at your own. Obviously, I told you, with analytics, you're answering a problem. You're creating a solution to a problem. So here I will go ahead and transform. Why I'm going to transform, I want to show you the Power Query editor. But if I go to load, this table is going to load automatically into the spreadsheet. Actually, let's do that for now. So the moment I say load, I'll give it some time, and here you see it is getting data from external. It's showing me that the column this of the table wasn't found. Now, because of that, now you see this column as if it is not red, but my data shows that that column is there. Now, these are the real reasons why we always first do the transform before
Transformation.
Yes. So when you have an error like this, you can't load your data, but you see here that the sheet had tried to load. So I just double click here. If I always want to go back to transform stage, you just double click here like this. It will open the Power Query editor. Now this is the Power Query editor. This is the heart of the whole everything we are doing, the BI, Excel BI.
Okay.
One thing you have to note, you can't open any other Excel when this Power Query editor is open. I can't go back. Maybe your boss has come on your desk and you say, hey, let me open the other file. You go this side and try to open a file. It will not open. It will tell you that Excel cannot do anything when the Power Query editor is open. So you can always load it again here, close and load for you to go back and open. You see, after I've not done anything, but finally, okay, this is what I was trying to open. So it has opened after me closing the Power Query editor. So here, which means you'll come back, double click on that to open the Power Query editor. These are the three tabs I showed you: home, transform, add column. We are going to use all these, and they are going to be your go-to on a daily. Now, what we have done here, Excel itself has already logged steps. The first step was picking data from the source. The second step, it extracted data from the HTML. The second step, it promoted. You see this was the header. It promoted the headers automatically to be headings. The third step, it looked at your data types and changed them that these are numbers, that this is a text, and all that. We shall look at those data types later. So when you click on any data type, you see like how we have them in Excel: decimals, numbers, text, date, and all that. But always, Power Query will always give you an automated check to change for you. So which means anything I do will be logging in here. So now this is it. Here now we can go ahead and try to load. Load. So I just wanted to load before we start doing any transformation for you to just be acquainted with this. Now, sometimes these symbols don't work for as namings in headers because these symbols in coding, they are used for another purpose. So I'm going to change this and I say this is the position. So the moment I change this position, it has logged here a step that renamed column. You see this? It has put, you have renamed the column, which means if I cancel this, it will go back to the other previous step. But even if I click on the previous step, it shows me what it was previous step before I renamed. So let's try to close and load. So you see, when we close and load now, our table has our table has loaded. Mansita with 88 points, Arsenal with 86, going downwards. Now, if this table, we left it like this, up to Sunday, and no, even today, money is going to play. The moment you come back on this step tomorrow morning, and you go to data, and you go here to refresh all. The moment you refresh all, it will pick the updated version of that time. Why? Because now you see every time it refreshes, it comes with the other hash, and it is giving me an error that still it is looking for the other column I renamed. So here I'm trying to refresh. It has refreshed again. It is telling me that it has 20 rows, which are 20 teams in, as how we know them. So this is how you can go ahead and do your own analysis. How do we do these analyses? You can go ahead and say, let me create a pivot. So I can go insert a pivot here, put it on a new table. Then in this pivot, I can put, what should I go with? Is there anything I can use here? Okay, let me use the matches played. That is C, right? The matches played here, it is PL. Actually, it is PL. Now, if I pick the PL, this, and put it in rows, then I want to count the teams that have played 36 matches and 37 matches. I can again pick, you can take the teams here and you count. So you'll see that we have 4 that have played 4 matches, 36 matches, then the 16 have played 37, which means you can go ahead even and insert a chart. I'm trying to show you that after you have done the transformation and all that, you can go ahead and chart like this. It means that after today midnight, when Man U has finished playing, the moment you come here and refresh, this will change and you'll see 37 has increased in case you put here numbers, data labels like this. Data labels, and I change this to white. Change that to white and increase. So after midnight, you'll find that 2 teams have left here. If Man U is playing with Newcastle, you'll remain with 2. Or if the 2 matches are going to run now, you'll find that 36 is no longer existing. This is already an analysis, which means every time your team updates here, let's say now it is in real life, you have your team, there is an Excel they fill. It means that at the end of the day, when you come this side on your sheet, you just need to do refresh, and all the reports and the charts you have done will automatically refresh. That is the purpose, the simplest, how we always feel like Power Query is a massive. It is a business intelligence tool that is here to improve your productivity. So there are many things you can pick up from here. You can rank by wins, you can rank by losses, you can rank by draws. You get a lot of analytics you can get from this. So if I asked you that, how many teams have had more than 10 losses, which means you can get those teams by putting your data in a report, or you can put it in a histogram, and at the end of the day, you have those teams. Or you say, how many teams have scored these maximum goals? How many teams have a difference of these goals? You can always get them. So those are the analytics we do. So for now, we have picked that. Let's pick something else. I'm going to pick...
just cut it short, eh?
Yep.
Did you say I can use the same approach? Say to pick data from a database, company database?
Yes, but that is somehow different, because that one you'll be coming to get data, then from file or from database here. You have to know the type of database you're using, the credentials of logging into the database, and all that. So that is somehow different. If you have a web that is HTML, programmed by HTML, then you can easily always pick that data from that web. Now, Let's pick out something else. Let's go to the same web. This time, I'm going to pick the World Cup table from start. So World Cup table standings. So if I open this, whether it is what I need, no, this is not what I need. I need a table. Okay, here I shall say World Cup champions. Champions list, right? Now, you can always have many webs that have that list, but you always look out for the authentic, right? So if I go with, let's say I've seen here Fox Sports. So if I open Fox Sports, I'll see this is the table for the champions. This first place, runners up, third place, like that. That is one. Maybe I may not need the way how that is. I always love this one on Wikipedia. So when you go to that on Wikipedia, you see the way Wikipedia is, but you can pick data from there. So when we go to that table of Wikipedia, I think this is the table. No, this is the table. You see? Here, this was the host, this was the champion, and they scored these goals on finals. You see, we need this table. Maybe you need to do analysis, or you're going to have a presentation about World Cup and how teams have evolved. So we can always take this. Now, I don't need to. Now, let me show you what the other time I was trying to show you that someone will come and say, let's copy this and take it to Excel. So if I create a new sheet here, this, and paste this.
Hope it doesn't crash.
Exactly, no, it can't crash. Actually, I didn't tell you that with Power Query not to get those problems of crashing, you need a laptop that is at least having a better resource and high resource. So, you see now how this table is. Yes, here you see when it has links that I click there, it takes me to Uruguay. I click there, it takes me to Italy. I click on this here, it will take me to that year. But I don't need all this. Then another thing, there are some things I will want to remove. Maybe if you want to remove these scores on the finals, 6-1, maybe 2-1, 1-3, you may want to remove them. That is the extraction we are talking about. You might want to change. You see here, there is the way how you have headers. It is going to be a struggle because some headers we may not need them. Though this one has come in, like it is some better, you can go ahead and do something in Excel and clean it up. Let's see how we pick it in Power Query. Actually, let me leave it there for our comparisons. Let me leave it there for our comparison. This is copy and paste, C and P. We are going to pick the one. So even though you don't create a new sheet, you can always just go directly to the web here from web. The moment I click from web, I'll go the other side, pick my link. This is the link I need, nothing else.
Okay.
So copy, go and paste here. So the moment you paste there, you load it. So when I load, this is anonymous because the data is public. So I'll connect. So after connecting, for a good discipline, never load the data before you transform it. Even if you're not going to change anything, first take it to transform. For it to pick the other details of the data types, cleaning your headers, to do some automated stuff for you. So the moment it loads here, you'll always sometimes find a lot of tables, but you'll have to look for the real table you're looking for on that web. Yeah, when you come to this web, Sometimes if you have done some of the programming, you can always go to inspect and know exactly this table is table number what. So this is the table, right? So
Yeah.
when you see this is the table here, when I click on that table and I come to its console, you see this is the table. It has no number, but here it is called wiki table sorted. That's the class it has. So let's go the other side and see how we can pick it. I know it has loaded. Now here you have many tables. You see, many. So at some point you'll find every column was made like a table, but that shouldn't be our worry. So the major thing is to look out for the real table you need. So I can start with this FIFA World Cup. This is not what I need. Table 1, not what I need. The total, not what I need. Attendance, this one was about attendance. I know don't need this. Now this is the table I need, the results. Then even there is a table that were the teams reaching the top 4. They're here. Total times, teams qualified. This is a summary. So this is the table I need. Results, right?
Yeah.
So this is the table I'm going to take. Now you see the way how it is ramshackled. Somewhere it is showing null because maybe that year they skipped. They didn't play World Cup. It was World War. Here even when we are from World War II, then here even we didn't play. Then there is another skip that was somewhere. So all those scenarios you can pick them. But how do you pick them? Only after using a transform. So here I don't want to load immediately. The correct discipline is always to first transform, even if you're not going to change anything. So I will transform this. Then when it transforms, here we go. Remember, we still, the same worksheet. Now we have 2 queries. We have a query that we did for Premier League. Now here we have a query that we are going to do for World Cup. So here it is just showing results. I don't need this naming. I will forget. Just come here and rename this to World Cup results. Oh, results was already there. Okay. Now, what else now do we need to do? You see, now we have 2 queries. We have a query that was Premier League. Now we have another query that is World Cup results. Now, the first thing here I'm going to do, I want to eliminate any, first of all, remember here we have headers. We have this heading, we have even this heading. But this heading, the second one here, it is showing the final score, the final runners-up, third place playoff, which means we can promote this one to the top. Isn't it? So how do we promote this? You just, even if you don't click on it, you come here on home, there is use first row as headers here. The moment I click that, it will promote my first row into the heading. Now, since these, a few of them here, these ones I can edit them directly. Here they were saying this is, you can copy this. We are doing now data cleaning. You paste it, you add here, that was final champion. Then here, this was final score. Final score. Then this was final runners up. So I'm trying to make sure that I align very well my headers before I start cleaning some of the other things. Then this third place, it is already there. Then this is the third place playoff. Those are the scores. This is the third playoff, number 4. Here it's tried to split this data. Then this is the number of teams that were playing. Now, first of all, any row that doesn't have a host, it means World Cup didn't take place, right?
Yeah.
Yes, now that's how you start thinking as an analytics person. Like, what exactly do I have to focus on? Any column that maybe doesn't have, you can even go with a final score. But final score, there are many wordings which you may not pick, right? But here you'll say anything maybe that didn't have a final champion, then World Cup was there. But remember, there is this where we had World War. You may need to pick the year where there was World War. So I'll say, okay, anything that doesn't have a year here, it should be not part of my data. I'll come here and select anything that is null. Scroll down. If there is blank, remove it. But if it is not there, just say, okay. Now, I want you to understand something. You see, when I was still on this step, you see here this bar, it is green, but it's showing some gray part. When I hover on it, it shows me that you have one empty row, right?
Yeah.
That is the empty row I have removed. The moment I remove it, the whole of it becomes green, and it will show you 2700% valid rows. You don't have any error, you don't have any empties. There are options here. You can always clean up your data, that remove all the empties, remove all the errors, replace the errors with, you may want to replace the errors or the empties with a certain word, like not available. So you can always do that. You keep them, but you replace them with yes. Now, where we didn't have a host, where we didn't have a champion, where there is no comment, ideally I may not also need that here, right? But if you want to choose right, you can look for what to put here. You can rename this, that here there was no World Cup, this was, if your data is editable for a few of them. But if you can't, here you can always go also and remove it, right? Or you can say, when we come to this, there is here, remove duplicates, remove empty, remove errors. Then, if you want to replace, there is a transform I showed you last time that replace values. So to replace values, you can always also click that. You say anything that has null, I can put there, no World Cup, right?
Yeah.
Like this, because I want to keep them. Then I can also always analyze that here it was null because there was no World Cup. You go ahead and do all the others. You can keep it because you need it to be part of the data. But now there are these years that we haven't reached. 2026, we are going to play in Canada. Obviously, they have already set the host, right? Or they have already set the teams that will go through that voting. But I mean, I don't need them, right? Because we are looking at champions. 2022 we have, which means I'll come here on final champion and I say, let me use the other option of remove empties. So the moment I say remove empties, it will automatically do the filter like the way I did the other side, right? So it is another option on how to do that filter. Now, you can go ahead and do the cleaning. Like if I want to clean here, and I say, you see, I don't know what the AET means, but for now, for me, I'm focusing maybe on the scores. Oh, this was the game score, then these were penalties, right? So you can leave them or you can extract them. You can decide, let me put all the penalty scores on another sheet, another column, or let me remove them completely. But if it is a text, you can leave it there. Now I'll go ahead and load this for the matter of time. But that's it. Then loading, you go back to home. Then I'll do close and load. We shall look on this close and load tool later. We are going to use now close and load. The moment I do close and load, it will, the same name you gave the query is the name that comes on the sheet, on the tab, on the sheet. It will load your data and tell you how many rows they have loaded. We already know it has to load 27 rows. because we already saw that we have 27 transactions. So here we go. So this is it. It means that if I left this data and the other World Cup of 2026 is played and it gets a champion and I refresh, it will automatically come here. So, or if you have analyzed how many countries have taken how many, like the host, obviously the host, you may not find them repeated here. France is repeated here. We can come on the champions here. Like how many have been champions. You can go ahead and create your pivot, put on new, then you say the final champion, and you can again pull the same, or you can pull the country, or you can pull the same like this, and it does for you the counts. So you see these are the counts. Then if you want to sort this, you can go ahead here and say sort, or you go to sort more. Then I want to sort descending. I want the highest, but I want to sort by the count of the final champion like this. Yes. So the moment I sort, it brings Brazil at the top. So you can even go ahead and do the normal things you have been doing, but all for the courtesy of Power Query. So I can go ahead and have these simple formattings of colors, such as when someone looks at this, says Brazil, Italy, Argentina, West Germany. Those ones are the top four. Uruguay, France, they have taken it twice. Then the others once. Now, if I want to remove this, you can go ahead and remove it when World Cup was not played. Boom. So this is it. And at the end of the day, you have your analysis. You can even go ahead and create a chart from here. Recommended charts. This is the chart I want. I go with that. Here we go. Now, I know we can do a lot, but all needs practice. Everything needs practice. So I can reduce this. So a lot can be done, but all this has been done with a courtesy. You can imagine, you can tell someone that I'm picking this data from the web. At any time that web it updates, even this one will update automatically. You can even go ahead and pick data from these betting webs. Like if you are a person who does betting, you can pull your data always in Excel. And you don't have to go to those websites to look for what to bet. So then after that, you start ranking. Rank at the highest odds, rank at the lowest odds. Which team has, you just make life easy. But that is data analysis. So I don't want to extend it past this. I know we have taken long because it is already 9. I don't know whether you realize that. Sometimes time flies. But so this is the first bit. I know now you can do as much as practice you can do for this small part we have done. Just into that data. The web is free. Go to the web and pick any table you feel like. Get your hands dirty. Then maybe we can pull it up from here on Saturday. But let's keep the communications flowing in case you have an appointment. I have one. Should not always